new images we are getting from Lewiston at this hour of emergency workers loading what seems to be a victim into an ambulance, obviously moving with great urgency and presumably getting that person to the trauma center. We, I believe, have the Auburn Mayor, Jason Levesque, joining me now on the phone. Mayor Levesque, I am so sorry to be speaking to you under these circumstances, and I wonder what more you could tell us tonight. We have heard from our colleagues at NBC, at the local affiliate there, that this is a very unfamiliar thing, they say. We know that the murder rate in your part of the world is extremely low, and I wonder what more you could tell us about what you know at this hour and how unusual this event is where you are.
I'm not sure how much more I can shed on this event, other than, I want to make sure I can get the word out to everybody in Auburn, Lewiston, and the surrounding area to shelter in place. Be very observant and be very cautious until we get the situation settled, and have faith that we will get the situation settled. We have everybody on board right now, from state, local, and federal officials working on this. This is something that's completely unusual. This is not to be expected in Maine. Maine is an extremely safe state. Auburn, Lewiston, and Shawnee County absolutely sets a standard in safety. This is an absolutely disturbed individual. I know it's just one. And we're going to find that out as the investigation moves forward.
Mayor Levesque, for those of us, I'm speaking to you from California. That's where I'm sitting. People are watching this all over the country and all over the world. They may not know your city at all. Give us some sense of Auburn and Lewiston. What is that community like? What is it like to be on the ground there? Just so we have some sense of just how unusual, as you say, this is in where you are mayor.
The city of Auburn and Lewiston are two separate cities, but they're connected by a river. Auburn has 26,000 people, Lewiston has 35,000 people. I can't go to the grocery store without running into someone who's complaining about a pothole. It may seem insignificant, at this point in time when we're talking about this situation, but that's how close this community is. This is a very tight community. We know people. And for this to happen here, and unfortunately, everybody in both of our cities are going to be touched, and we're going to know people who have, been hurt by this instance. And this is not, I don't want to say devastating. This is definitely going to be an event that will never be forgotten within this area, and we will come together though, and we will persevere through this.
The footage we have been showing and watching over and over of people emerging from a building there appears to be the Spare Time bowling alley. I wonder if you are familiar with that place and can give us some sense of what might have been going on there on a Wednesday night, if indeed the shooting took place there, as we are beginning to believe it did.
Yeah, I'm not to try, but bowling was going on. I go there often. My kids go there. A lot of teenagers go there. Hopefully not on a school night. They weren't there tonight. We have yet to get that data back. These are people just going out, having a piece of pizza and bowling. This is just normal American entertainment. Why this would ever be a target for anyone is beyond comprehension.
And Mayor Levesque, I wonder what you know of how life may or may not continue tomorrow. We understand that schools may be closed where you are. I'm wondering what are the preparations you're going to be trying to make to pick up the pieces tomorrow when the sun comes up.
Well, first of all, schools have been canceled in the entire region. So elementary, high school, public and private. So schools have been canceled. We will pick up the pieces because, we in Maine, we pick up the pieces and we move on. That's just part of our ethos. This is going to be a challenge. This is going to be really uncharted territory for us, but we will get through this. We're going to find out the damage. We're going to find out the culprit. We're going to bring that person or persons to justice as soon as possible. And God, I hope that justice is swift and severe. And then we're going to move on as a community and supporting each other like we normally do during travesty.
And before I let you go, just so I have some sense of it, I mean, per state police data, more people have been killed tonight than in the entire state of Maine for 4 of the past 5 years. Just help us understand again how peaceful an environment this is, how unusual such a violent event is in the place where you're mayor.
Listen, I don't think that statistic is right at all. Okay, I will say this is a cataclysmic event. It's probably close to a total of a year's worth of homicides in the entire state of 1.3 million people. 4 years, I don't think so. But I can't comment specifically on the numbers of casualties or fatalities at this point in time. So we will need to just rest and let this settle out and find out, because we owe that to the families, we owe that to the community. We cannot jump to any conclusions.
Mayor Jason Levesque of Auburn, Maine, next to Lewiston, thank you so much for being here tonight. Our thoughts are with you, and our very best to you as you try to pick up the pieces after this terrible event. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Bye.
NBC's Liz Kreutz rejoins us now. Liz, I know you and I have been monitoring the hard work going on behind the scenes across all of NBC News as we try to put together both the place itself, the people affected, where these scenes happened. Can you give us any new details at this point? Bring us up to speed on what information we at NBC understand about this so far.
Yeah, and that's always the challenge, Jake, during these situations, is just trying to piece it all together as during the chaos as all of this is unfolding. But we know that this gunman has gone to at least 3 different locations. One of them, like the mayor was talking about, is this bowling alley, and just hearing from the mayor there talking about that this is a place where teenagers go to have pizza and to hang out, and kids and families are there. We were looking at pictures online of this bowling alley, and it's all pictures of little kids. So it's just heartbreaking that repeatedly we seem to see these mass shooting incidents in these family gathering spaces. Even just earlier this year, the shooting near where we are in California, a biker bar in Orange County, and then a few years ago, the bar and grill in Thousand Oaks, and it's just the concert halls, and it just repeatedly feels like nowhere is safe for people. We do have these images that we're showing right now, as you've been mentioning, Jake, of the suspect here that police have released because they want this gunman to be identified. There's a close-up image there, and this car that they've released an image of as well, and they say that the bumper on the front is blacked out. So you can see the gunman there with that firearm. So 3 different locations. The ATF, Jake, we know from Boston, is now investigating and on their way. We know both President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are briefed. The governor has been briefed, and she is telling people to heed those warnings to stay inside. And yet again, Jake, these images of people running for their lives like we're seeing right here.
At this hour, we've just learned that the Justice Department has weighed in and has given us some sense of how they are watching this. A spokesperson says that the Attorney General has been briefed and will continue to closely monitor the situation. Federal law enforcement agencies are assisting our state and local law enforcement partners in Lewiston, Maine. As you mentioned, Boston's ATF is en route to Lewiston at this hour, as we understand it, and the president has been briefed. I wonder, Liz, if you're able to give us some sense of the scale of this as compared, you may have heard me speaking to the mayor a moment ago of Auburn next to Lewiston, who, the murder rate in that city is in the teens or low 20s from year to year, and the idea that this could have all happened in one night, that kind of number may have been exceeded. I wonder if you can contextualize for us a little bit how you imagine this plays in the attention of the Justice Department, the attention of the president, in the gruesome calculus that we deal in when we think about mass shootings. Why this one, do you think, is going to perhaps stay in the minds of law enforcement officials for some time as they think about this?
Yeah, as you're saying that, it's reminding me of a San Francisco mass shooting that happened in the early 90s. I don't remember the exact number of casualties, but I believe it was less than 10, that prompted then Senator Dianne Feinstein to put forward a bill that led to the only ban on semi-automatic assault weapons in this country's history. And that was from a mass shooting on California Street in San Francisco, where you are, Jake, that had less than 10 casualties. And here we are now at a place with 22 casualties. And we, as a country, repeatedly see this. And I think as we look at the mass shootings over the past several years, this is going to be clearly one of those that has some of the highest casualties and injuries. I mean, hearing that potentially 50 people are injured, I mean, it's truly shocking to hear. And we do know that the president has been briefed and the vice president as well. And like you mentioned, state police have said that in Maine, which is considered a very safe state, there are 29. Last year, there were 29 homicides. Well, tonight, we know at least 22 people killed. So this shooting already almost equal to the number of homicides that this state sees in 1 year.
Liz Kreutz, please stay with us. I know you'll be closely monitoring this, and we want to be able to come back to you for any new details that come across the wire for you. But in the meantime, I want to bring back retired ATF Special Agent Jim Cavanaugh. He's also an NBC News analyst. Jim, we are at this point understand from the mayor that this is a small town. People know each other in this town. This is a bowling alley where the mayor of Auburn said his children go. And as a result, it strikes me that the scale of this city perhaps could help in identifying this shooter and identifying where he is a little bit faster. I'm wondering to what extent you think that's true, and also what other resources are available to law enforcement to try to find this man, spot him before he can do any further damage.
Well, I think you're right, Jake. I think they did identify him early on, probably from the photograph that was released by the police. Because as you say, it's a small community. This guy was easily recognizable from the photograph. And all of us have friends and relatives and acquaintances who would recognize us if our picture was thrown up all over the news in their town. And so this guy was quickly identified. There's a vehicle in question there. We don't know if he owned that or not. But now the police have talked about looking for a white Subaru. He could have carjacked somebody. It could be his own car, but he appears to be traveling in it maybe. So he could be anywhere. I think New England is in danger tonight, not just this section of Maine, because this happened a couple hours ago, and he could travel any location. His spree killing, going to 2 and 3 locations. He's using multiple magazines to get off all these rounds. He's wounded about 60, killed 22. I mean, even if every round was struck a victim, which is not really possible, but just in probabilities, that would be 3 or 4 magazines he's using just to get these victims shot. So he's got many more magazines, I would say, with him. He's loaded for bear. His plan, may not have an ending like escape. It may be more of an ending like a suicide by cop, shootout with the police, or just try to kill as many people as he can. That may be his goal. And he's got the weapon. He's loose. Now, your question, the second part, tracking him down. Well, they'll try cell phones, but, he doesn't need a cell phone when he's on his killing spree. He might have ditched it. So if he doesn't have a cell phone, or if he doesn't have OnStar or a tracker in his car, he may be hard to find that way. He gets back to the citizens reporting what they see, troopers and deputies on the highways looking for the vehicle. If there's any vehicle like that description traveling in New England tonight, every officer's going to be looking for it. Of course, they'll have air assets up, night vision. They'll be contacting family members. They'll be trying to find out where he does go, where does he frequent, does he camp in the woods, does he have another residence, does he have a cabin somewhere, who are his friends, what's he about, trying to, ascertain anything they can that might lead them to him. Unfortunately, we may find this location when we hear reports of more shots fired somewhere, and then police are going to have to rush there. And that could even be in a neighboring community or even a neighboring state. So I think New England just needs to be on alert now. There's an active killer loose, and nobody knows where he is. So they can't say he's still in that local community. He could be anywhere up there.
Fortunately, at this hour, Jim, Bates College, which is less than 3 miles away from Schmenges, one of the two locations that we know about so far, says that no shots have been reported or heard on campus. Campus is on lockdown. They have no other info at this time, but at the very least, we are not receiving reports of this of additional shooting, at least in that sort of early radius around this, which is something to be thankful for. Jim Cavanaugh, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I hope you'll stick with us. Joining us now is NBC News contributor Cedric Alexander. He's the former DeKalb police chief. And Chief Alexander, there is obviously, the details here are sketchy tonight, but I wonder if you could give me some sense in your long experience with a crime in this country, where does this where does this fit in terms of violence and the difficulty for law enforcement officers in trying to find somebody? How difficult, how alarming a situation is this in your experience?
Well, it's very alarming. It's very alarming to that community. It's very alarming to this country. We've been here too many times before, but the death count here is a really significant number of people that have been killed and injured, and a subject that is still on the loose somewhere in and around that community. So this is a major alarm, and I'm quite sure every available resource in that community and resources that will be coming in from the state and our federal agencies are going to play a very significant part tonight, all the way up until the time that this subject is apprehended. This is tragic. It's very difficult to find words to describe the type of pain, of course, that community must be suffering tonight, and people across this country are suffering too as well, because 22 deaths, 55 to 60 people injured. That's what we know of this at this moment. That impacts a lot of lives, a lot of people. And that is going to be, that pain is going to be shared across the country.
Well, Cedric, speaking of that pain, the affliction of this, we have heard here from a woman who says her family was affected. She was in the midst of it. I'd like to play a little bit of that right now.
My ex-husband and my son were playing pool, and next thing I know, I saw on Facebook that there was a shooting at Schmenges where they were playing, and then nobody would tell us anything. Just go to CMMC. His wife, his son, my ex-husband are here. Friends are here. We're all waiting, and we've heard nothing. They won't tell us if he's alive, if he's in critical condition, if he's passed. They won't tell us anything.
So, Cedric, as you heard there, this is one of the local citizens who feels entirely mystified by what has happened. As she was speaking to our affiliate there, WCSH, seems to be very much in the dark about what is happening. I mean, give us some sense of what the response, what it's like inside the response right now. If you are the top law enforcement official in charge of that scene, what are your priorities at that moment? What are you trying to make happen? And why is there, as a result, perhaps so much fog and confusion for the people caught up in it?
And certainly there is a lot of fog going on at this particular moment. There probably is a lot of confusion. We have to recognize and acknowledge that is a lot of deaths across that city, and probably in close proximity and in different locations. Those that have died tragically and those that have been severely wounded. The hospitals in that community, I'm quite sure, are overwhelmed with victims, along with family and friends who are trying to make some determination as to whether their loved ones were caught up in this mayhem tonight. And I think the lady that was talking, who was very calm about this, but imagine internally what she must be experiencing, not knowing if her loved ones are alive or injured or dead. And there are a lot of people that are asking that same question in that same place that she's in that community, and those that have extended family and friends across the country who don't know. So hopefully here sometime soon, and you can only imagine this has to be a huge crime scene in multiple locations that's going to utilize a lot of police resources in terms of trying to put this case together and get information to the citizens in a timely manner that is very painful for some people, but yet at the same time they have the responsibility, police does, to try to make sure that they're getting the accuracy of information that they can to people. And this is just painful to watch these images, I'm quite sure, to all of us.
And as the former police chief of DeKalb, I'm curious, what advice you might have for people responding tonight on the ground in this very small city. This is a city of 35,000 people in a state that regularly sees perhaps 19, 20, 21 murders as a whole, as a state. And so I'm wondering whether you think that law enforcement on the ground there, has what it takes. I don't mean to suggest that they're in any way, unprepared for this, but in a sense, who could be prepared for something as horrible as this, especially when you're dealing with a city as small as that? What advice would you have for them tonight? What would you be looking for in trying to assist them in responding to this terrible scene?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we have to remember that our law enforcement personnel and civilian personnel that are there on the ground tonight, they're human beings. They have family, they have friends. They may have family or friends who could be affected by this tragedy. We don't know. But if you can only imagine being on a scene such as that, where you have that type of massive casualties and that type of injury and death that's before you, that it can be overwhelming to any person, any individual. But law enforcement, I'm quite sure no community you can compare, you can prepare only up to a certain point. And then after that, it does become overwhelming. But I am quite sure they're going to have support of each other out there on that scene tonight. And I would imagine they will very smartly bring in mental health counselors to be available as well, too, because this is a very, very traumatic scene without question. And it's going to have impact on the workers, and people that live in that community are going to be hugely impacted as well. These are the things we don't see when these type of events occur. And after these bodies have been taken away, it's the after the impact. That's why it's called post-traumatic, because the trauma oftentimes can take effect that night, or there can be a number of variables, and every individual is very different, that people can begin to relive, unfortunately, some of these horrible images that are going to be with them for the rest of their life. We oftentimes, as civilians, and we hear about this kind of level of tragedy in a war somewhere on the globe. But for it to happen right here in our own backyard, right here in this country, right here in any city, USA, and tonight it happens to be Lewiston, Maine, it strikes us in a very powerful way. And we all are impacted by the numbers. And here again, we don't know what the final body count is going to be when the dust settles in all of this.
Cedric Alexander, former police chief of DeKalb, Illinois, thank you so much for being with us. As he mentioned there, the trauma is, of course, long-lasting, and law enforcement officers responding to this scene will be traumatized. Of course, the victims and their families traumatized as well. The pain will go on here. We know at this hour that, according to Auburn Mayor Jason Levesque, we spoke to a few moments ago, he said that schools will be shut down in the region tomorrow, suggesting that life will not continue as normal, or at least not right away. There will be some healing, some time that people on the ground will have to put into repairing the damage, healing wounds, and trying to get past all of this. I'm wondering, NBC's Liz Croyce back again. She has been thinking, has been tracking this for us tonight, alongside dozens of our colleagues across NBC, and I'd love to hear from her now. Liz, give us some sense. Are there any new details to share? Recap for us where we're at tonight.
Yeah, Jake, you mentioned that the Lewiston public schools are going to be closed tomorrow. We also have learned that Bates College nearby is on lockdown right now as well, and that shelter-in-place order has been extended now to the entire county. So a much wider area of people now have been told to stay inside. Law enforcement says make sure your homes and your vehicles are secured as this manhunt unfolds and continues. You have to imagine it is a terrifying night for so many people sheltering in their homes right now. In fact, I saw on Twitter a journalist on the ground there saying that they were at the Maine hospital there that's responding to this mass casualty event, and that people told them to duck down behind a cement barrier because nobody really knew maybe that the shooter could be in that area. So there's a lot of fear for people out there right now. I also have been looking into the locations. We've talked a lot about the bowling alley, also this bar, I may be saying it wrong, but Shemengi's, looking at their website. It also, like the bowling alley, is a place that seems to promote itself as a gathering hole. They say host your big events here. They have pool tables you can rent, and they even said that tonight was going to be industry night tonight. So you work in the bar restaurant industry, you get 25% off your bill. So it makes you think that this gunman was specifically targeting these areas where maybe he knows people gather. And Jake, one more thing. I wanted to circle back to something you had asked me about before, which is sort of putting into context this shooting compared to so many of the other mass shootings that we have covered now over the years. And our team pulled together a list of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history. The Las Vegas massacre at the Country Music Festival remains the top one, with 60 fatalities and 544 people injured. When you look at this list, right now these numbers are very preliminary. At least 22 people dead, 50 to 60 people injured. It makes it about tied with about the 6th, 7th deadliest mass shooting in the U.S. So this is going up there as one of the deadliest mass shootings. The Walmart shooting in El Paso, Texas, 23 people were killed. Uvalde, 21 people killed. So to give some context.